Hello, beloveds. I hope this message finds you well as we are going over many topics about your struggle with failure that stop you from reaching your nearly impossible goals. Last time we busted four myths about money, people freedom, success, and time about starting anything. In starting anything, like many of our past Start My Business Today graduates, you may believe that pursuing your passion is not for people like you. Back to my story of why I created Start My Business Today. For what you're going through, DARID, depression, anxiety, restlessness, irritability, and discontent in your dark night of your soul, or five stages of grief after your losses, or feeling like you're losing. 2010, I had just gotten laid off. Management had changed. For the past 4 years, I had spent all of my life energy recovering from a disability and finally had gotten back onto my feet and gotten a new job. For my new job, I made sacrifices like anyone would due to the 2.5 hour one-way commute. That was about 5 hours a day driving without much traffic. I was back into my bad habits of eating poorly and centering my life around work, passionless, without much of a social life, like my old, long Wall Street firm days of working 10 to 15 hours a day. In my case, it was more about the commute, plus work. Not only did I lose my job where I had made new friends since my disability, my unemployment was only a few months, and I was now at the risk of losing my place. My life felt very dark again, and I didn't know how I'd get out. And I fell into a depression combined with my anxiety. I was restless, irritable, and discontent, or DARID, or some people even call it DARID. You know, when one door closes, another opens, or maybe a window opens, all exits felt stuck shut for such a long time in my dark night of the soul, or five stages of grief. My Philly friends invited me out to lunch. And during our conversation, they offered a contractor coaching opportunity, which was huge. I cheerfully agreed and asked if I could send my business information to them tomorrow. I didn't know the first thing about starting a business, so I did what anyone would do, and I looked it up on the internet. And yikes, I was over my head hurt in how-tos. My anxiety was in high overdrive. There was so much conflicting information, like kind of like choosing a religion. Even the free US Small Business Administration classes seemed to contradict, depending on certain business situations and your own personal situation, finance-wise, and MBA level jargon that I didn't even know if it applied to me in my air quote business. What? I was unsure and I didn't know who to believe. Uh, Whether I'm right, they're wrong, we're right, they're wrong, not quite sure. So-called authorities all over the place, and most of them didn't look like me or come from a similar background. Who are they? And it seems so impersonal. Would it work for me? Writing a business plan. Ugh, that seemed like it would take years to learn to even write in. And there are some free templates, but that depended on your industry and business model. And I doubted myself. Why me? I didn't even know what my industry or business model was. I was so overwhelmed with the number of subjects, market research, products and services, marketing and sales, social media, legal, accounting, operations, and funding. How? My head, heart, and how-tos were swimming as I was deep, deep, deep in Darred, with the clock ticking as the hours and the screen began to blur. In less than 24 hours, I had to figure out how to start my business today. You might recognize the name. You know what I'm saying? I felt that I was failing before I even started my business. I was drowning in my fails. Triggered. And we've been over this before. The fears, the assumptions, the interpretations, and limited beliefs. Instead of basking in pursuing my passion, should have been like a, I see the light moment, but instead I thought I was deep down in my darkness. I had no one to turn to and broke down many times at my kitchen table. I had to make so many decisions, which I didn't even know were right or wrong ones. I didn't even know how. It was a crapshoot, kind of like dumping a hot pot of tangled overboiled noodles or spaghetti on a wall and hoping something might stick. Although you may have been dealing with other circumstances. Maybe you didn't lose your job, friends, and you're almost your home. Maybe you have other losses, such as your status, identity, relationship, and pets, health, addictions, and any secondary losses. Perhaps you are underemployed or starting a side hustle due to unexpected rising expenses. I'm just saying, like gas, like a couple months ago was like $2, and now it's like almost five, double that. But you can relate to the feelings of being anxious, concerned, doubtful, and overwhelmed in starting anything. You may be dealing with your dark night of the soul, or five stages of grief from a loss. And that can also be from addressing your generational trauma, battling family addictions, or trying to overcome past abuse. These challenges can create a sense of being stuck in a cycle of poverty and hinder your ability to stay sober, recover from trauma, and pursue your passions. You may feel that your fear of failure, balancing responsibilities, limited resources, and being unsure of your next steps are holding you back. And despite your efforts, which sometimes you feel like, but I'm doing so much today, despite your efforts, such as attending workshops or seeking mentorship, the enormity of your goals may still feel out of reach. I so feel you. And that's why I created Start My Business Today. Pursuing one's passion. It would have been nice if it triggered feelings of happiness, joyousness, and freedom instead of anxiety, concern, doubt, and overwhelm from our fails. Later, when I worked with the U.S. Small Business Administration, the U.S. SBA, coaching and consulting over 1,000 aspiring leaders and entrepreneurs, I usually heard complaints about their fails being triggered, feeling like they were lost before they even began. DARID, and depression, anxiety, restlessness, irritability, and discontent, and complaints about getting funding and network access. And based on that consistent feedback, those patterns, I created Start My Business Today Intensive as a discounted package, all on one for your convenience and success. Self-help and business courses to help you overcome your fails when your DARID is triggered, feedback for your success, accountability to get stuff done, funding, paying for startup expenses and hire within your communities, and launch network access for viral marketing buzz to meet prospective new fans and clients. And you are not the only one that have been going through this. Here's some origin to great original mystery to OMG stories from people just like you. So that's to to OMG. Are the yang, the yin, and the new paradigm. For some of you, these are new concepts. For those of you that have been following along, thank you. And I hope that this helps you. So, a challenging and empowering experience. Start My Business Today. This is from Jocelyn, a former Lutheran pastor. Start My Business Today came to my attention at the exact time when I was feeling lost and overwhelmed with the process of manifesting my dream. This course supported and pushed me to create a fabulous business plan that I am proud of and working to bring out into the world. Judah and her team are extremely knowledgeable and generously share their experiences to empower all those who participate. Challenged me in tremendously good ways, teaching me the language of business, encouraging me to confront my limiting beliefs that were preventing me from moving forward, and empowering me to create a strong foundation from which I am starting my business. I highly recommend this class and process. Because I chose to participate in this class, I am fully stepping into my dream, and I am extremely grateful. So the Jocelyn is an achiever, and she was a pastor and now a spiritual director. And she had moved from New Jersey to New Mexico and is now back on the East Coast. And here's another story, another origin moment story to Great Original Mystery to OMG. Creating a strong business foundation. Getting to work closely with Judai through the Start My Business Today program was truly exceptional and unique. Also, as an Asian woman, getting to be mentored by another Asian woman was a wonderful experience. There were natural understandings because of our similar cultural backgrounds growing up as Asian females. This was a key part for me because I realized a lot of my struggles in starting a business were uniquely female in issues stemming from being an Asian woman, especially where I doubted myself, looked for others' approval instead of looking within myself. The Start My Business Today experience was structured in distinct parts in creating a strong business foundation. But most of all, Judai is one of the most generous souls I have been fortunate to meet. Not only, she not only helps you create a business plan that is so meaningful to you, but quickly realize that she genuinely cares about you. Period. And that's Shuan, and she's a connector. And she has a couple of businesses, the Journaling Sisters and the Surfing Sisters. She has moved all across the country from Brooklyn, New York to Austin, Texas. And we have more testimonials on our www.startmybusinesstoday.com website. So I hope that you join us in our Start My Business Today intensive and that we'll see you on the inside. Bye for now.